Hey, this is Chris, out and about. Do Christians need to follow any kind of dietary restriction at all? No, you don't. Again, it goes back to what is a covenant? New covenant, old covenant, looking at the Bible as two covenants rather than any other way you want to look at it. Because the covenants really are the undergirding basis for understanding the Bible. The more I think about it, the more I read from the Bible, the more I understand that this is true. This is the idea of looking at things covenantally is incredibly important, and it's incredibly biblical as well. So Jesus in the new covenant, as he was proclaiming his teaching, which is the foundation, which is the law of the new covenant, specifically says that it's not what goes into a man's mouth that makes him unclean. And then there's, I think that's Mark, isn't it? For Mark then to add a little point of explanation, which is really odd for him to do because he generally does not. It's generally just, here's what happened, boom, 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 from the beginning of his ministry to the end. This is one of the very few places that Mark ever comments on something that Jesus said. He says, Jesus therefore declared all foods to be clean. And it's like, you know what? That's the law. If Jesus said it, well, if Jesus or the apostle said it, it's good enough for me. But Jesus said it, Mark recorded it, and then Mark, just to make sure that everybody understood what Jesus was talking about exactly, because Mark is writing under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit. And so, therefore, everything that is contained in his gospel is true in all that it affirms. Then, in fact, there are no dietary restrictions of any kind. Again, the diet that God set out for Israel was simply something that set them apart from the other peoples of the world. There wasn't anything, there's nothing inherently wrong with eating pork or bacon. There's nothing immoral or unethical or anything, but that's just what God wanted. He wanted a people to himself, and so he gave them characteristics that everyone would know about. All the other peoples of the world, that is. And so that was one of their defining characteristics. And that's all it was. It wasn't because it was right or if it was wrong. It's just because that's what God wanted to do. Now, I have heard people of the Torah observant persuasion make some pretty amazingly outlandish comments like, well, does that mean you would eat algae, or you would eat scorpions, or you would eat bugs? It's like, no, I would not eat any of those things. I do not like green eggs and ham. I will not eat green beans or Spam. It's kind of one of those things. It's an old joke. Somebody who used to work for me. I can eat anything I want. It doesn't mean I'm going to. I don't need to. God doesn't care what I eat. He put everything, it's just like he told Noah. Noah was free to eat whatever he wanted to eat, right? I said we have come full circle in terms of dietary restrictions. There are no dietary restrictions for a Christian. I choose not to eat certain things either because I find them to be gross or I just simply don't like them. I don't like sweet potato casserole. Ugh. But that doesn't mean I can't eat it. It just means I don't want to eat it. And I'm free to choose, as a Christian, what I do and what I do not eat. So, hope that clears things up for you. Again, look at the Bible covenantally. Understand the Old Testament is governed by the Old Covenant. The New Testament is governed by the New Covenant. And then everything really just starts to make a whole lot more sense. And it also makes you realize just how churches have diverged from Jesus' teaching over the last 2,000 years. Someday somebody's going to start a church and they're going to actually do a New Covenant church. And we'll see how it works out. But in the meantime, you can live a New Covenant life. Just follow what Jesus and the apostles taught. Look at the Old Covenant. Look at the Old Testament. It's good to understand these things. It's good to understand, the history of God's redemptive purposes. But those things found in the Old Testament are not your guide to daily life. You are not lawfully committed to follow anything that's written there. Alrighty then. Got any questions or comments, please do so in the section below. Like and subscribe. We appreciate when you do. God bless you. See you on the next one.